Hey, what's up YouTube, and welcome to part 2 of my how to build a mall tutorial. If you haven't watched part 1 yet, then I will leave a link down below in the description. The thumbnail looks like this, I should have just showed it on screen, and if you can't find it, then I guess you'll just have to build the inside without having built the outside. Can you imagine how insane that would look, just having a bunch of stores with no mall whatsoever and just like escalators floating in the air? Probably not a good idea. Or is it? So once you have caught up with the tutorials and you have a build that looks suspiciously similar to this one, we can now work on the inside. Here are all of the materials that we are going to start off with. We need so much more than this, but this will help us to build the foundation. Moving into the inside of the mall, the first thing that we have to do is sort out the layout. So if you come towards the front of the build and you find your way to the side of this window here, the first thing that we're going to do is dig in the ground, and we're going to dig towards the back of the build from this block 1, 2, 3, and we're going to place sea lanterns in the ground. On the end of this, we want to place a light grey concrete, and then dig 3 rows, 1, 2, 3, place oak planks in there. On the end of this, we want to place a light grey concrete, and then we want to dig 3 more rows, 1, 2, 3, place sea lanterns in there. Place a light grey concrete on the end, dig 3 more rows, 1, 2, 3, and then place oak planks in there. Place a light grey concrete on the end, dig 3 more rows, and place sea lanterns in there. One more time, we're going to place light grey concrete, we're going to dig 3 rows, 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to place oak planks in there. Then stick a light grey concrete on the end end result of which should look like this. So the idea is that this is essentially a series of stores. If you take the light grey concretes next to the sea lanterns, so starting off from this one, and you place white concrete extending towards the back wall, then we will naturally separate into a bunch of stores. This back corner area here, where we have this kind of like garage warehouse area, this is going to be completely hidden away. But the idea is this, so you can see that as long as we have a set of sea lanterns and a set of oak planks, this pretty much sets us up for a bunch of stores. And we also want to raise up the light grey concretes as well using the white concrete. We want to add a row of 1, 2, 3, 4 on top of them, and then extend the white concretes together, and then extend them towards the back, because as I mentioned, like, these are all getting separated into stores, right? So they'll look like this, and we can do this going all the way along. I think if we make it in this sort of fashion, hopefully it all becomes quite clear on how this is all getting pieced together. So we'll join all of the light grey concretes upwards like this, right? And then we'll take the walls and we will also extend them backwards as well. So we'll make the frame and then we'll time-lapse the rest of this. As I mentioned, this area here, this will be completely cut off from everything else. So let's just seal up this wall because it's completely irrelevant anyway. So we'll seal up that wall. We can actually turn that into a completely different color if we do so choose. And hopefully you can kind of see how this is already piecing together rather nicely. I believe that we'll even add an extra row of white concrete just underneath this, or you could color code some of these stores if you did want to, but that's kind of how they're going to look. And what we can also do is, actually, we will move on to the second floor later. So coming all the way back to where this area ended here, we want to now start working on the back portion of the mall. So we've got a bunch of stores on the left and a bunch of stores across the back. So from this block here, this light grey concrete, we are actually going to dig a row of 3 in the ground, 1, 2, 3. And this back area is actually going to be quartz bricks, so 3 quartz bricks. A light grey concrete on the end, and then a row of 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dug into the ground and replaced with sea lanterns. On the end of that, a light grey concrete, and then we're going to dig 1, 2, 3 in the ground and place quartz bricks. On the end of that, a light grey concrete, and then we're going to dig in the ground 1, 2, 3, and we'll replace that with sea lanterns. On the end of this, we'll have a light grey concrete, and then we'll dig in the ground, we'll connect to the end here, and we'll have oak planks. So the back is a little bit different. We have bigger stores on the back, or at least couple of bigger stores. And the idea will be that we extend a row of white concrete all the way across the top here like this, right? So we can join this here, and we can join the light grey concretes upwards as well using white concrete. We can separate the two stores. So the stores, basically, it's here. So on the end, the right side, we will have a... I don't know why I'm extending the whole row up, but I suppose it helps to further illustrate. So in this back corner here, we will have... This is an entire store. This is just a small store. And then we will have a big store here and a big store above. I believe this is a pet shop, and that is a Lego store. So we can continue to extend up the white concretes as well, straight through the rows that we've placed, and this will help to kind of, hopefully, you can kind of see how I've put the structure of this build together. And we can add a row of white concrete underneath the top of this, just like this. And we can probably do the same as well. Yeah, we'll do the same up at the top as well, but you guys get the idea of how this is all separated. And we just have to fill the inside of these shops in as well. So, oh, this left side here, I should point out. So this entire left side, which we actually haven't done anything with yet, but we will be. It's kind of like a similar sort of idea. So on this left side, we want to place light grey concretes, right, on top of the points where we have the vertical rows of white concrete. You can see how that would go together, right? Well, on top of then the light grey concretes, we want to stack rows of white concrete like this, so extending up. And what we will also do, so this will really help a lot as well, we want to add a couple of rows of quartz bricks along the outside of what we've just made. So this is for the second story, right? So just along the outside of the top row of horizontal white concrete that we have, that kind of like cuts the entire mall in half, we want to place quartz bricks, 2 rows of them. Then a row of light grey concrete, like this. So this is how we will walk around the mall. This is how we will get from the top row to the top row, from the second story to the first story, and vice versa. So something to think about also is where these, I believe they're called escalators. I don't know why I said I think they're called escalators. So escalators are going to be placed pretty much equivalently on both sides. So here, where we have this second archway, we're going to dig out the middle block that corresponds with the archway and then place a black stone stairs in front. Then underneath that we will place a black stone stair, so on and so forth until we eventually reach the ground, and this will mimic an escalator like this, also called a movie floor stair thing. And we will place light grey concrete on the outside of it, like so. Do you know what might actually look good too, actually? So we can place light grey concrete on the side of it like this, or we can just have a single row like this, and we could extend the stairs. So I don't know which one would look better, really. That definitely looks worse. Okay, so we'll go we'll go with the previous option. My bad. I guess what we could do is, you know, there's no saying that we even need the upside down stairs underneath it. It just looks better with the light grey concrete, actually. Okay, my bad. And anyway, we'll place some glass pane along the side of this, moving all the way up to the top, and the glass pane will naturally act as a glass banister, or, yeah, banister, right? Probably. A glass banister to the actual stairs, the escalator, and we want to have the same thing over here, so it's actually just easier to, I guess it's easier to place the light grey concrete integrating in with these stairs first of all, and then we can place... And then, if we just literally place the light grey concrete on the side, moving all the way up to the top, like this. Yeah, that looks good, right? Why does that look weird? I don't know why that's looking weird to me. There we go. There, perfect. And then we want to place some glass on the side, create a little bit of a banister. This is going to go all the way down into the ground, by the way. I don't know why. It just seems better to join it into the ground, in my opinion. So here... and here, that's looking really, really good. And then we can extend the glass pane all the way around. So this will pretty much cover the layout for the mall. So hopefully that kind of like sorts it. So you can see we have all of these assorted stores now. We have escalators to take us up and down. So all we have to do is rip up all of the floors and install a bunch of walls, and then we're actually able to add specific stores. So that's going to be really fun. First of all, we are going to replace the grass area on the ground level in front of all of the stores with quartz bricks. I'll refer to this as the courtyard. That wants to be completely quartz bricks. We are also going to add windows to all of the storefronts. Just use good old regular glass pane to connect the ground to the ceiling using glass pane. This is on top of all of these sea lantern sections. We also want to add anti-theft devices to every single one of these stores. So these are basically two sets of two oak trapdoors flipped up parallel to each other on the center of the entrance. So if you place something like a sea lantern stacked 2 rows high and then you just place the oak trapdoors and flip them up either side of it, then that will work perfectly. On the larger stores, you will want to do this on both the left and right sides. We also have to make the floors for each one of the stores. On the ground level, every single store has an oak plank floor except for the largest store, in which we are going to use quartz bricks. With all of the floors complete on the ground level, we are now going to add a wall to seal off the warehouse area. We don't actually have a warehouse, it's just for show on the outside, so we're just going to seal it up using white concrete. We're also going to separate the shops on the ground level on the left side of the mall as well. This is also done using white concrete. We already have the areas where we have to do this marked out. We also have to make the floor for the food court and the bathrooms which adjoin the food court as well. The entire floor for this area on the second level is made using oak planks. It should be fairly obvious where to place this, as it continues from the walkway that we have on the outside of the food court. And once this is complete, we're just going to make a wall to separate the toilets and the food court, and we'll create a little gap that allows us to walk in between the two. We're going to seal off that wall as well, so that we have a separation between the toilets and the other stores. And we also have to make floors for the 2 stores that we have towards the back on the second level. The largest of which is a Lego store, which we are just going to use yellow concrete for, and the little small one on the right side is just a bookstore, so we're just going to continue with the oak planks. And we also have to create a white concrete wall in between the two. If you prefer, you can also use light grey concrete as well, just along the bottom if you want to continue the pattern. Something else that we have to do as well, where we have windows on the ground level, we also want windows on the next level, except for the food court. But the same rules apply. We want sea lanterns at the base of the window and glass pane above the sea lanterns connecting the floor to the ceiling. It's also a good idea to help to meld the stores and the food court into the ground as well. So in between the pillars, you want to match the floor design, the oak planks, the yellow concrete. We're also going to place sea lanterns, by the way, in between the inner set of pillars that we have for the food court. We also have to have the anti-theft devices. These are just for the stores on the second level. We don't have to place these for the food court. These are the upturned trap doors that we placed on the lower level. And do remember that for the larger store, we want to have it for both entrances. And with all of that complete, that is the interior of the mall laid out. With the interior structure of the mall complete, we can now work on the individual stores. So, to get started, we are going to begin all the way over in the front bottom left corner of the mall. This first store here is going to be a jewelry store, and by the way, as these stores are a standard layout, you can change the positioning of these stores as well. So let's say that you wanted this store just next door, then you could easily do that. Feel free to chop and change things. Anyway, let's open up this chest. These are the materials that we are going to need for this store in particular. Please do make sure that you have access to all of these, and you will notice that we have a bunch of chests around. Well, in this store, we are first of all going to cut this area in half on the back. So we're going to place a vertical row of sea lanterns leading from the ground all the way up to the ceiling. Now we're going to connect the bottom sea lantern left and right using calcite. And then in front of this, we are going to place light grey concrete. This is going to cut the entire area in half. Or we could place white concrete along the bottom and have the vertical row at the back remain light grey concrete. We have to install a shelf here, which is going to be iron trapdoors along the top row that will still allow us to place stuff on it. And then we want to lay a bunch of item frames along the bottom on top of the calcite. So we will fill that in just a moment, but we have to make a counter. So we'll leave a couple of rows gap between this and the display case, and we'll have a row of 1, 2, 3. Shall we go 3? Light grey concrete like this. And then we also want to place some light grey shulker boxes just in front of this window too. So that looks pretty good. And we also want to add some paintings to the wall, so just to kind of like spruce things up a little bit. You know what? Let's go with the carrots. We'll have we're selling carrots of diamonds. It makes sense that we have carrots on the wall. I know that that's not actually a carrot, it's actually a potted plant, but it looks like a carrot. You can't tell me otherwise. So what can we do next? It might also look good to have iron trapdoors flipped up around the little display case at the front, so we may have to augment this build a little bit already. I don't think redstone block will do it. We'll probably have to place some torches, but if we dig into the ground just a little bit like this, and if we attach some redstone torches like so, and we can have some iron trapdoors around this little display case, and then we can fill the display case in with stuff. So I'm going to have item frames, diamond, emerald, and we can go for amethyst, or you could even go for something a little bit different. You could go for like an ender pearl, and this is the case that will be like right in the window, so this is what people will majoritively see. So I suppose that we can spin these around to look a little bit more pleasing. That looks pretty good. We can also use these in the cabinets as well, so like diamonds, emeralds, pearls. We can use some of the other things as well, like gold ingots, amethyst shards, lapis lazuli, and we can grab all of the different clusters as well, so gold ingot, amethyst shard, lapis lazuli, and along the top here, in ascending order, I think that we'll just place a bunch of the buds slash clusters, and we will have the descending order here. Such a satisfying sound, honestly. And then we can seal that up using glass block. So just like this, we don't actually want to be able to get in these like that. I don't know whether buttons or tripwire hooks would look good. So like the idea is like tripwire hooks makes it look as though that you can like open this, or maybe just like one in the middle to look like a display, like that you can open it. I don't know. I mean, buttons across the bottom might look okay as well. I don't know. It's up to you whether you think that looks better or not. On the counter space here, of course, we would just want to have like a till and maybe even a light. So quartz stairs, pressure plate, a lantern, something like that. Looks pretty good. We can hide a light here. It's looking pretty nice in here. I don't know if I want to change the floor or not. I think that actually looks pretty good. So like from the outside, does that look rather enticing? I think it does. So ladies and gentlemen, that is store number 1. This next store right here is a shoe store. So we will need all of these materials that you can see right here. Please do make sure that you have access to all of these and possibly some hidden ones that I haven't decided we need yet. Inside the shoe store, first of all, we are going to install some lighting in the floor. So along the back here, we're going to dig a row of 2, extending across. We'll place sea lanterns in there. Leave a gap, another row of 2 sea lanterns. Leave a gap, 1 sea lantern. Then we will cut the area vertically using the light grey concrete like this in between the sea lantern rows. Then we want to, leaving one, you guys will just have to see where this is placed. So we want to place iron trapdoors here, so like along the top of the second row up from the ground, that will allow us to place chests on top of the iron trapdoors. And we also want to place chests on top of the sea lanterns also. We want to mark the chests with item frames, so just 1 each for each chest like this. It wants to look rather uniform. We want to have a couple of scaffolding just stacked about the place, either 1 or 2, something like this looks pretty good. We have to make a till area as well, so if we leave, say, like a gap of 1 from here, from the anti-thieving, what do you call those things? Like the security devices to make sure that you don't steal anything like that's got tags on. Well, if we leave a gap of 1 here and we place a couple of rows of light grey concrete and a couple of rows going this way, and then we are able to like use a stair here to work as a till, and then maybe we can even just chuck like an iron trap door on the side here. That kind of looks just interesting. And a couple of item frames, something like that. That looks pretty good. And in here as well, we want to have a couple of places that we can actually try the shoes on. So let's say we leave a gap of 1, or just right next to the scaffolding, perhaps we can have a couple of quartz slabs. Leave a gap of 2 quartz slabs, kind of like this. That's looking pretty decent. And on the walls, we also want to have some paintings. I want the 1x2s, and I want both of them like this because it just looks like advertising. Oh, my bad. I accidentally destroyed one of the item frames. It just looks like advertisement. And we're going to have a bunch of paintings just above the actual shoes as well. And maybe even one behind this counter, so perhaps one that just coincides. So, like that. That looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. And all we have to do from here is, oh, if you want, you can have a flower pot stacked somewhere too, like if you want it like on this counter. That's why I have this. But we are going to grab all of the shoes, boots, and we are going to place them in any order that you like, just in the item frame. So that looks pretty good. And of course you could have more on the counter space here, and if we have a lantern here, and wherever you kind of want to stack lighting, like it does get quite dark in here, honestly, so you may want to stack as much lighting as you possibly can all the way about the place. But that is the shoe store complete. Next up, we have an Apple store. So for the Apple store, all we need is apples. Bad joke. Anyway, these are all of the materials we need for the Apple store. Please do make sure that you have access to all of these. And the first thing that we are going to do is hang a lantern right here because it's really, really dark in here. We want to place a row of light grey concrete all along the back of the bottom of the Apple store, and we want to add a frame of white concrete around the top of the back of the Apple store. Cut the area in half vertically like this, and we're going to stick another lantern. Honestly, maybe a few lanterns. I want to have a specific painting in the tops of these 2 areas. It's that one right there because it looks like a TV. And I want like a TV in here. So I'm going to stack a heavy weighted pressure plate inside one of these alcoves, and I'm going to stick item frames in the alcoves as well. We're also going to place a birch trap door. So the pressure plates and the birch trap doors can look like laptops, they can look like iPads, they can look like, you know, just accessories. Like, they're very ambiguous, and that's the point of these. The item frames are going to get filled in. So we have to make some stands as well. So that's birch stairs, item frames, we'll need light grey concrete, we'll need quartz stairs, and heavy weighted pressure plates. So we want to have back-to-back birch stairs placed in this manner, extending from the wall. You leave a gap of one from the front of the wall and a gap of one from the back of the wall, and then we want to have the opposite way facing birch stair connected to it. So two really small, it's a really small display, and we want to have these just item frames stacked on the table. Now on the opposite wall we want to have light grey concrete one row away, and we just want to have a till and a pressure plate. So the Apple Store from the outside, like it's just an incredibly simple store. Simplicity is kind of like the name of the game with these, and that's kind of like why I like them so much. And now that we've done that, we have some banners to make. So here's how you make a really simple phone banner. Like, this is as simple as it gets. You can make these more complicated, but we've got a bunch of these to make. So loom on the ground, open it up, black banner in there. Red dye, add a border of red dye around the black banner. Boom, one phone. We can do the same thing using blue dye, like this. We can do the same thing using white dye. We can do the same thing using grey dye, and we can do the same thing using light grey dye. Bunch of phones. If you want to make it more complicated, then okay, let me show you. So if you want a more complicated phone, we are going to need some more dye. I wasn't going to show you guys this, but I guess we will do it. So here's how you make one look a little bit better. And what colour phone do we want? Shall we have a white phone? Okay, so we need the black banner in there with some grey dye, okay? And actually, with some white dye. And we'll place a diagonal of white dye, top left corner to bottom right corner. Throw the grey dye in there, and we want the gradient effect. It doesn't matter which way, but I like this one where it's like light at the bottom and goes darker at the top. Grab that, put that back in. White dye in there, add a border around it, boom, there we go. So this is a slightly different looking phone, and you can see it's just a little bit more complicated, but we had a bunch of these to make. So any of these will kind of do, and once you have placed once you have kind of like made all of your phones, if you just place them in the banners, and you kind of, or rather you place the banners in the item frames, and just make them all look a different way. And of course, do feel free to change the colours of the phones and the positioning and what have you, but it's up to you which you prefer. Like, I even like the simple phone, but this one does, obviously, it is a little bit more, it's just a bit more refined in the design. It actually looks like a shiny phone screen that's like getting hit by the light. But that is the Apple Store complete, ladies and gentlemen, nice and simple. Next up, we have a pet store. So this is the first of the larger stores that we have to make, and here are all of the materials that we are going to need to make it. Please do make sure that you have access to all of these. So, walking in the store, the first thing that we have to do is make the area for the fish tanks. And to do that, we want to leave a gap of 3 from either one of the corners in the back. So 1, 2, 3, and then place a light grey concrete. We'll do the same on the opposite side. 1, 2, 3, light grey concrete. Extend the concrete forwards by 1 row, and then along the back we want to have 2 sand extending in from both of the light grey concrete blocks, and then we want a sea lantern in between and a light grey concrete in front of this. The sea lanterns are going to extend up to the ceiling, and then we want to place white concrete on top of the light grey, extending up to the ceiling in the middle and the left and right sides. We're going to use, I can't believe that I forgot this material, I'm very sorry ladies and gentlemen, but we need light grey shulker boxes. Light grey concrete will work as well. We want this placed in between the light grey concretes in front of the sand at the base of the build. And what we also want to do is we want to leave a gap of 1, and we want to have shulker boxes. So this is difficult, so maybe if we grab glass. Glass block is actually better than glass pane, although glass pane does also work. So I'm going to grab some glass block, place it on top of the shulkers like this, and then place shulkers on top of that, and then I'm going to stack glass on top of these shulkers. We're going to have to break in from above to make this easy. So what we're going to do is we will just, what we want to do is grab all of our fish and all of our aquatic plants, and we will also need, you know, sand won't actually work. We will need to grab sandstone as well. Guys, I'm so sorry. As we move up, let's move up onto the next floor and we will break in like I said. So these sort of middle blocks here should do. There we go, perfect. So looking down into this, I'm going to place a bucket of pufferfish, and I'll stick, say, like a coral fan in with this. And over here, next to this, I'll stick a bucket of salmon, and we will stick, like, let's place a seagrass. There we go. And then above this, we're going to have to place sandstone. We may even have to grab some water. I thought that the water from the fish would actually be sufficient, but it doesn't seem that way, so we'll just have to top this up a little bit. I don't want to have multiple fish in here. And then above this, we want to place sandstone. And then we are going to add... Let's actually just fill it in with water first, and then we will add... Let's add kelp to this left one, and then the coral fan. I think... we'll add the fire coral, because I don't think that I'm repeating myself then, and we'll add a cod, tropical fish, and then we'll just seal up the top of this with yellow concrete. And let's just have a look at how this looks. Hopefully I haven't repeated anything. No, I haven't. That's absolutely perfect. And there we have 4 sets of fish. I almost didn't recognize Mrs. Puff there in the bottom left corner, but that's absolutely perfect. So in completing that, we can now make some of the rest of this. So we are going to need some light grey concrete. We will need glass pane. We also need white carpet, red carpet. We need a lantern. We will also need the oak slabs, oak fence, and oak trapdoors, and even yellow carpet. So on the right side here, in this little alcove, we're going to dig to the right of this and place some light grey concrete inside. Then behind this, we're going to place a white carpet and a red carpet to look like a little bed, and a lantern hanging from the ceiling. We also want to place an item frame in here, and we can even customize it a little bit better. We can add like an item frame and a bone. And we just want to add a couple of rows of glass pane just in front of this, and this is where we will have one of our dogs. And all the way over here on the left, we want to have a rabbit. So we're going to place oak slabs, half a row off the ground, just suspended like this, and we want to have a slab leading up. Then we're going to place a fence in front of the right side here, an oak plank next to it, and then a flipped up oak trapdoor next to the plank. And inside of this, we're going to have a couple of yellow carpets, and you know what, maybe we can even like add an item frame and a carrot, just like this. And then we can seal the top up using oak slabs, and this is also another good place to have a lantern. Then at the front here, on the front of the store, we kind of need to have like a till area. And we're just going to use some green concrete, and we'll have a few rows of grey concrete, maybe even just 2, extending from here and from one of the light grey concretes, and we'll extend it over to the left, maybe halfway through the store. We'll have a stair and a pressure plate. Maybe we'll grab another lantern. We can even hang lanterns here just to increase some of the light. And I guess it wouldn't be a bad thing to reuse some of the materials that we have. So like we could have like a bone and a carrot, or if you wanted to, you could have like fish food, but we'd have to elongate this. But yeah, I think that that's okay. That adds a nice little bit of detail without having to grab a bunch of new stuff. From the ceiling, I want to have a bird cage, so that's going to be made using just a chain. So from the middle of the ceiling, probably about here, we'll have a chain, and then place a block underneath it and surround it using oak trap doors. And we also want to have an oak trap door underneath the chain like this. Flip everything down. So just like so. There we go, that's perfect. And we can seal the bottom of this up. So it just kind of looks like a little bird cage. I think that that looks pretty good. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with this so far. We can have some paintings perhaps on the wall as well. So maybe in like the middle of the wall. Whereabouts the middle of the wall? Maybe about here. Maybe just some 1x2s like that here. And maybe about here as well. That looks fine. And there we go, like a nice pretty simple pet shop. I like this quite a bit. And all we have to do, of course, is just add a dog in here. That's I'm so sorry. Actually, maybe the dog and rabbit can be friends. Huh. I'm going to be honest, I legitimately did not see that coming. So the wolf has retaken his pen, I guess, and we can place a rabbit in here in the rabbit hutch, which I don't see him, but I do hear him, I believe. Are you in there? No? Oh, there we go. That's perfect. So we can leave him in there, and Bugs will be just fine. Rest in peace, Bugs 1. You, it's just against your nature, isn't it, Spot? I mean, that's all there is to it. That's the pet store complete. There's one of the rabbits. Next up, we have a clothes store. So, for the clothes store, we will need all of these materials that you can see on the screen right now, and probably some more. For the clothes store, we are first of all going to make the fitting room, which is right in this back corner, upside down quartz stairs, tripwire hook above it, or maybe we'll leave a gap of one and then place a tripwire hook. Next to this, we want to stack a couple of rows of 3 high light grey concrete, and we'll stick a door on this. It can be open or closed, it doesn't matter which one. We want to leave a gap of 2 in front of this and place 1, 2, 3, 4 light grey concretes extending out. We might even make it 5. On this, we want to have a till, so a smooth quartz stair, and then like an iron trap door or something similar, you know, just next to it, it looks like something. And we also want to dig around this, and we want to place some red glazed terracotta, so just to add a little bit of colour to this area. And we want to figure out where the mannequins want to go. So from this corner, the front left corner of the store, extend inwards diagonally, armour stand. Leave a gap of 1 going right, armour stand. And preferably, they don't look perfectly straight, so maybe if we place them like this, that's perfect. I don't know why I wanted them a specific way, but I do. And then we want to place end rods on the wall here in between the armour stands. And actually, in the back corner of the store, we're going to leave a gap of 2 and then place a couple of light grey concretes, gap of 1, light grey concretes, and we're going to stack a bunch of end rods across the top of this. What we then want to do is on this wall here, extending out from the top of the light grey concrete, we'll have a couple of iron trap doors. We want to have some item frames hanging off of this. We can have an item frame here. You can have item frames in front of stuff. You can have them hanging on top of things. And the idea is that we, first of all, let's decorate the entire area, actually, before we start stacking everything everywhere. And we're missing a lantern, actually, as well. We're getting really bad with these materials. So we want to have a double chest on top of this shelf here. We're going to have a flower pot and a lantern stacked on here. We want to have a painting just at the end of the till area. And we want to have paintings as well, like this. Just kind of like stacked about the place. Looks pretty good. Maybe even a couple like this. We are really going for a theme with these paintings. And what we then want to do, when we've kind of like hit this point right here, I think that this is a good level of decoration. Maybe a lantern hidden here and there, and maybe a little bit of everywhere, maybe just on top of here as well. What we then want to do is we need to grab a bunch of banners and some different clothes items. And the banners want to get placed underneath the end rods like this. So they just look like some sort of ambiguous clothing item, and this would like be a rack, and those are racks as well. So it just looks kind of good this way. And then if we just stack a bunch of clothes in the item frames and on the armor stands, then it just looks like a really cool little clothes store. Really simple. Moving on upstairs now, as that is the entire lower half of the mall complete, we are now able to work on the front right corner on the second story, and we'll kind of like work our way across over to the food court. So let's open up this chest and grab everything in it. So here are all of the materials that we will need for this particular store in particular. This is a bookstore. So we're going to start in the back right corner of the bookstore, and we'll place a bookshelf. Extend it forwards one and add another row on top. Leave a gap of one and then just place 2 bookshelves. Leave a gap of one in front of these, and from this wall we want to place a row of light grey concrete that extends forward towards the same length as these bookshelves. Stick a lantern on here, a flower pot, an orchid in there, a stair, and that looks pretty good. Item frames with books would also look good as well. We can stack these on some of these different shelves too. We can also add more flower pots to the area as well. So let's say that you wanted to add a couple of saplings, that would look cool too. We're going for a nice naturalistic, chilled out vibe inside of our bookstore. In the back left corner, we're going to place a bookshelf. We'll stack it 3 rows high and extend it forwards by 2 and right by 2 as well. Maybe we'll even let's stack it all the way to the counter. We'll place ladders in the corner leading from the bottom to the top, and then a lantern on top of here, and we want to stack a bunch of flower pots along the top of this, and we just want to have a bunch of saplings in these. Let's add some shelves to the bookcase, so we'll have a couple of spruce trapdoors, and we want to have item frames with books on the actual shelves, so just like so. And then on this wall right here, we're going to leave a gap of 2 and then place a couple of spruce trapdoors, and we'll flip a spruce trapdoor here up on the end. Dark oak stair next to this with dark oak signs on the side of the stair, just like this. Nice little reading corner, and we'll have an end rod with a brown glazed terracotta on top of it. And then all we need to do is maybe add like a painting on this wall, and I'm thinking it can go above this slightly shorter shelf, and that is perfect. That is literally the perfect painting for this area. And that's kind of it, ladies and gentlemen. That's the entire bookstore complete. Next up, we have the Lego store, and this is the last store in the mall. Here are all of the materials that we will need to make the Lego store. Please do make sure that you have access to all of these and some mystery materials. So, entering the Lego store, we're going to start all the way over here in the back left corner. And we are going to place... We're going to actually leave a gap of 1 in front of this, and then we're going to place 2 yellow concrete extending to the right, with a red concrete right of the yellow. 2 yellow, a red, 2 yellow, red, gap of 1, red, extend that a couple of rows forwards and 1 row back. So the layout looks like this. And then we're going to extend the red concretes back against this wall, and we're going to fill the bottom of these in using water. Oak slabs along the top of the water, and then we're going to extend red concrete up like this. So the red concrete will extend all the way up to the top. We're going to hide sea lanterns inside of this, and maybe we'll even drop them 1 row down as well. And we'll connect them together at the top. We'll use red concrete in front of the top row of sea lanterns and bookshelves in front of the bottom row of sea lanterns. And the idea is that we want to place a bunch of corals on top of the slabs, and if you use your imagination, they kind of look like Lego bricks sort of put together. There's nothing that looks like Lego bricks, guys. Honestly, there really is nothing, or at least nothing in... Like, these look like cool little displays if you use your imagination, and that's about as close as we can get. So what we're then going to do is seal these up using glass pane. You guys have been in Lego stores, or at least if you haven't, they're really cool to look. If you get a chance, go into a Lego store. They're actually really, really cool. There's a bunch of cool models set up. There's the bricks as far as the eye can see. It's a really cool experience. Anyway, what we are then going to do is let's work on this counter space a little bit. So the counter space, we're just going to have like quartz stairs. We'll have some like buttons that kind of look like little bricks. We'll have bookshelves, lanterns, flower pots. We'll have flowers. So in the corner, it will just be like a quartz stairs. Maybe we'll leave a gap of one. Stick like a button next to it. A flower pot, some tulips. And I wonder how do corals look in item frames? Like, do they look interesting? Is it a convincing... If you use your imagination, it does kind of look like a bundle of bricks, but I guess it does require a little bit of imagination. Maybe if we stack a bunch of them. Maybe, sort of. I don't know. In this back corner, I'm going to stack a bunch of bookshelves and maybe like a lantern and some more flowers in here. We'll leave a gap of one and we'll place a couple of bookshelves across the side. Maybe even some bookshelves, maybe if we stack them like this. Maybe even add like one up on the top here. A couple more maybe like a button, something like this. Just parts. I mean, just to make it look a little bit more interesting. And some lanterns hanging here. And we can actually make some giant Lego bricks though, so that's pretty cool. So orange concrete, stripped crimson hyphate? Stripped warped hyphate? Guys, I don't know how to pronounce these. I'll tell you what though, you could also just use like red concrete, and you could also use cyan concrete. That's also a possibility as well. So whichever you think might look a little bit better, so like cyan and like red concrete. And we want to get the corresponding buttons as well. And you can stack these to look like Lego bricks. So like you can have a couple of cyan concretes here with warped buttons in front. Then if we leave a gap of one and place a couple of red concretes with crimson buttons on top. Gap of one, a single orange concrete with an acacia button on top. Kind of just looks like Lego bricks stacked about. I think that that's pretty cool. And yeah, I mean that's pretty awesome. I'm pretty happy with this. I think that looks really good. Let's take a look from the outside. That's kind of the judge. It's definitely an interesting store, if absolutely nothing else. Oh, I guess we could also place paintings on the wall as well. So kind of like maybe just like stack them together, preferably more colourful ones, sort of like that. I think that looks good. Maybe even. I guess that the choices are limited in the ones. That's kind of interesting. I sort of like that. Yeah, this is looking pretty cool. I'm happy with this. With the Lego store complete, ladies and gentlemen, we have finished each individual store inside our mall. We have done great work so far, but yet there is more. So, the first thing that we want to do with all of those stores complete is come all the way over to the second story front side of your mall. We are going to begin work on the food court. So, here are all of the materials that we are going to start off by grabbing. We need a bunch of different stuff, so we're just going to start off with this. So once you have all of these, we're going to move into the front corner of the court, and we want to place a row of 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 green concrete extending out from this corner block. As a matter of fact, let's make it 4, so a row of 4 green concrete extending forward. We then want to extend the green concrete all the way up to the ceiling. Then we're going to take the bottom and extend it to the right by 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Leave a gap of 1 and then place a light grey concrete. Then place a row of 6 red concrete extending right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Leave a gap of 1 and then place a light grey concrete. Then place a row of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blue concrete extending right, and then there will be a natural gap. So we want to extend the light grey concretes towards this back wall here, and then we want to stack white concrete on top of the light grey. So extend all of these back and stack the white concrete on top of the light grey, and this will create natural separations. So we've got to move out to see this. Natural separations between each one of the 3 food places that we have. We're going to extend the green concrete across the top to join to this white concrete area here. We want to extend the red concrete from the first red concrete block up and to the right, and we want to do the same with the blue. So extend up and all the way over to the right, and I can't help but think of, for some reason, the Power Rangers as I'm making all of this, but Now that we've done all of that, we can start work on some of the individual spaces. So this first one, the green area here, is meant to be a little subway. So to start off with our subway, we're going to need block of iron, stone buttons. We'll need some light grey concrete. We need to grab the furnace, smoker, stone stairs. We'll need the brewing stand, flower pot, lever. So in the back corner here, over on the left, we'll have a couple of blocks of iron stacked on top of each other, stone buttons in front, and 3 light grey concretes extending to the right of this. Brewing stand, flower pot, and we also want to grab a cake, and we want to stack this along this counter space. Above the brewing stand, we want a lever, we need item frames and cookies, and we will place them in that order actually. So a lever above the brewing stand, a couple of item frames, a couple of cookies in there. Along this back wall here, extending towards the front, we want a furnace and a smoker and a couple of stone stairs above this. And on top of this, you can stack anything. You can place a couple of item frames, you can put bread in there, you can put other food in there. It doesn't really matter, it's up to you. So behind the green concrete, we are going to, we need some glass as well actually. We need light grey shulker boxes, item frames, bread, carrots, steak, cooked chicken, that sort of stuff. It doesn't need to specifically be these. And we also need glass pane as well, where we're going to stack 4 shulker boxes, preferably facing that way, with item frames on the shulker boxes, and we want to fill these in with food stuff. So basically just different ingredients that one might use for sandwiches. And there we go, that's absolutely perfect. That will work nicely as a little subway, and we'll make some banners for this a little bit later on. Up next, we have a KFC. So here are all of the materials that we are going to use for our KFC. Please do make sure that you have access to all of these. You may also notice a lot of repeat materials. We will also be copying some of the layout a little bit as well. There's only so much you can do with such a limited amount of space. So, in this back corner here, over on the right, we're going to place 4 light grey concretes extending over. We might even, as a matter of fact, in the corner here, we'll stack 2 blocks of iron with stone buttons in front, kind of how we did over there. And we want to have the same sort of, we want a brewing stand next to it, like a flower pot. We want an item frame. We want item frames stacked above this on the wall, like so. We're going to want like a lever above the brewing stand. Over here in this corner, as a matter of fact, let's extend the red concrete back to limit the amount of space a little bit, and then we can place a blast furnace, a smoker in the corner, and then we can grab the stone stairs, lanterns, item frame, cooked chicken, bread, squat stairs, stone pressure plate, and we'll have stone stairs above the cooking areas and an item frame with chicken on here. We'll stick a lantern on the counter, a cash register on the counter, a pressure plate, some bread, some chicken. We'll fill the item frames in with similar things as well. So just kind of like make it look a little bit more like KFC. We could even add paintings as well. So like a good place for a painting is probably here on the right. I'm specifically looking for that one right there. That looks pretty okay. And there's not too much more to it. Once again, for the layout, like if we take a little look, like there's not too many options really. Like they are kind of all a little bit repeatable. The only difference here is that we don't have the cauldrons with all of the food stuff, but they're different enough that I think that they make a nice little impact, and we can hang some banners off here to further illustrate that this is KFC. Next up, we have Burger King. So for Burger King, I think we are going to shake things up ever so slightly. So grabbing all of the materials that you just saw in my inventory right now, we are going to head in here. And oh, you know what? Let's also extend the blue concrete as well, because I like the little separation. And in the corner here, we'll stack a smoker and a furnace, and maybe even like another blast furnace on top. So maybe if we grab the blast furnace, we'll have like a blast furnace on top of the smoker. We'll have an exposed furnace here. Maybe we can place like an andesite stairs here, and maybe we can have like a light grey concrete here, or maybe even a shulker box would look a little bit better, so kind of like as a little bit of storage. And next to this, we are going to use light grey concrete. We'll have a couple of light grey concretes, a brewing stand, lever on top. We can have like an item frame, maybe we can have a pot, so maybe an item frame, a pot next to the brewing stand, a set of item frames extending across, and next to this we'll have like another fridge, so maybe like a couple of blocks of iron on top of each other, stone buttons in front, and then I guess if we're looking to differentiate ourselves, then maybe we could grab like a white shulker box and stick a trapdoor on top to kind of look like a freezer or something similar to that. And on this counter space here, we are going to need the smooth quartz stairs, and maybe we'll just use item frames for this: bread, steak, chicken, anything that you think might work for KFC, like for Burger King, I should say. So anything that you think might go well. So like obviously some of the different meats might be a good idea, and maybe even drinks as well. So maybe potions. But so we could have like a potion back here, potion of healing. Healing looks like some sort of drink. Bread, steak in here. Cash registers in the form of smooth quartz stairs. Item frames stacked on here, different things, chicken, perhaps some mutton. We could even have like a lantern in the middle, just so that it does look a little bit different. I do want it to, I mean, it's essentially got all the same stuff in here, but it is just a little bit different. And I think that would work nicely for Burger King. Last but not least, we have to add some branding to each one of these free food establishments in the form of banners, and we have to add some table and chairs and make the area just look a little bit prettier. Plus, we're going to add some bathrooms. So, here are all of the materials that we are going to use to accomplish this. Make sure that you have access to all of these. Let's just get all of the banners made right now. So throw down a loom, open it up. The first banners we will make are subway banners. So we'll place a green banner in there with some yellow dye, horizontal row of yellow across the top, the bottom, diagonal row, top left corner to bottom right corner, that will be S for subway, and then we'll place a green banner in there with some white dye. We want the triangle at the bottom of the banner, grab that, put green dye in there instead of white, and then we want the bunch of little triangles, put some white dye in there, and then have a vertical row of white on the left and right. And that will do nicely for the subway banner, so SW. Next, we want to make KFC, so this is just a bunch of red banners. So first one is K, so with some white dye in there, vertical row of white on the left, and then place both of the diagonal patterns. Brand new banner, that is K by the way, brand new banner, we have to make F, so that's a horizontal row of white across the top, through the middle, vertical row of white on the left side, that is F. Last but not least, we have to make C, so that's a vertical row of white on the left, horizontal on the top and the bottom, that is C, so KFC. Now we have to make Burger King, so yellow banner, red dye in there, B, vertical row of red on the left, right, horizontal across the top, through the middle, along the bottom, B. Last but not least will be K, so vertical row of red on the left side, and then to both of the diagonal patterns. And we can actually grab these right now, and we can place these along each one of the food places. So these are going to be placed not in front of the top left corner, but just to the right. So we'll have SW for Subway. Moving on down, KFC for KFC, and then BK for Burger King. And if we just move out a little bit, like it just, I don't know, it just looks kind of cool. I really like it. And we should be able to never need these again. So for the rest of the area, we're going to need quartz stairs, end rods, grey carpet, brown glazed terracotta, oak leaves, and I just remembered that we need some other stuff as well. I'm so sorry, I wish that I didn't keep forgetting things, but this mall is rather complicated. So what we will need is chains, pots, and ferns. Perfect. So first of all, we want to have a bunch of seating inside of the actual food court. So this is going to be end rods. We want 2 of them stacked behind the center sea lantern that we have moving along the inside the food court. Either side of the end rods, we want to have quartz stairs stacked next to the end rods on both sides like this. And that will be perfect. And then we need another one. And then the tables can be any sort of neutral color that you want. It doesn't even have to be neutral if you don't like, but I'm using grey carpet because why not? We kind of have like a nice modernish looking mall for the most part, so white and grey, kind of perfect. Stack brown glazed terracotta on top of the sea lanterns, or at least actually, only on top of the outer sea lanterns. This is where I almost made a mistake. We then want to stack oak leaves on top of the brown terracotta. And then here's what we want to do for the next part. So we want to stack a bunch of parts horizontally across the middle of the empty space that we have left. We'll then fill those with ferns and then extend chains from the ceiling down. And it makes a really cool hanging part. So that's really, really cool. And it just helps to, like, oh no, it just adds a little something to the second story. It just helps to kind of draw the eye and differentiate it between the stores. By the way, whilst we have the brown glazed terracotta and the leaves, in the entrance of the mall, we have this, why can't I move through this? We have these two flat parts of this wall. We want to have 3 brown glazed terracotta in front of the 3 flat parts, stack 2 rows of leaves on top of the terracotta like this on both sides, and that's just a nice little bit of decoration. That's all I wanted you to do. So from here, we now have to make the bathroom area. So the bathrooms are right at the end of the food court in this back left corner area. We have to seal this up first, so we're going to extend this white concrete here. We're actually going to turn this row of white concrete into grey along the bottom, and then we'll extend, first of all, actually we'll have a door here, and then we'll have a row of 1, 2, 3 light grey concrete, door, 2 light grey concrete, cut this area in half with a row of white concrete like this from the floor to the ceiling, and maybe, yeah, we'll make the bottom row light grey, why not? Then we'll build up the wall around this. So here, like so, build up the wall around it. Perfect. And at the end here, we're going to have a couple of brown glazed terracotta and we'll turn this into an actual window. So that adds a little something to the mall. I believe we still have our leaves here. That's perfect. And inside each of these rooms, it's going to be absolutely identical. So we'll have a toilet in the corner, which is a cauldron, oak trapdoor on top of it. We will create a barrier using a row of 3x2 or 2x3 light grey concretes. And then across this back wall, cauldron, tripwire hook above it. Next to it, either a white concrete or a light grey, maybe a light grey to keep with the theme. Lantern on top, quartz stair on top. So sink, hand dryer, bit of light, toilet, perfect. And we want this in both of the bathrooms. So cauldron, oak trapdoor, next to it, a couple of rows of light grey concrete, extended up to be 3 high, cauldron, tripwire hook, light grey concrete, lantern, quartz stairs above. Absolutely perfect. And that's actually the bathroom area complete. With the bathroom complete, ladies and gentlemen, we only have one area left to take care of. So if you work your way down into the ground floor level, and if you open your very own chest containing all of the stuff that you need, that I'm sure that you 100% definitely have, this one right here, here are all of the materials that you will need to finally complete them all. So we're going to make a couple of stands on the ground level here. The way that this lines up is if we take the bottom of this escalator where we have the light grey concrete right at the very end and we leave a gap of 2, and on the end place an upside down oak stairs like this, we want to extend that oak stair backwards by 2, 1, 2, and we want to extend it to the right by 1, place a couple of oak planks, extending right, and a couple extending back. We want to place blue banners on the sides of the oak planks, not the stairs. We want to place glass extending from this upside down stair here to the right and then back one. We want to place a quartz stair as a cash register just placed off to the side. We want to have a regular quartz stairs just facing this way placed in front of the oak plank that we have here, and right of this a smoker. On top of the quartz stair, we want an item frame with a spruce fence gate inside of it. A couple of item frames stacked on the side here, and we can place some more spruce fence, maybe even change the way that they're facing. And in doing that, ladies and gentlemen, we have a very ambiguous looking store, but it kind of looks like pretzels. It's kind of a pretzel stand. I know that there is a specific pretzel stand in America, malls especially, that apparently are just everywhere, but I think that I might make one of those separately. So this is just a 100% generic sort of like pretzel stand. This could literally be anything. You could put anything in here, cakes, whatever you like. Anyway, moving on down, we want to make a little coffee stand. So this is a little coffee shop. We need orange terracotta, green banners. We'll need the brewing stand, flower pots, cocoa beans, furnaces. We will also need quartz stairs, glass pane, item frames always, and that might do for the stall itself. So we're going to leave a gap of 2 between this stall, so 1, 2, and then orange terracotta, and then extend that terracotta back 2, and then the front terracotta to the right, 1, 2, 3, and then back 2, like this, so kind of the same shape as the pretzels. We want to have the same configuration of banners as we do the pretzels, so 2 green banners on the front right side and then extend it towards the back. And we want to have glass pane on top of the right 2 orange terracotta, extend 1 back. Quartz stairs extending inwards for a little cash register, and a couple of furnaces just here on the right side. You could even vary, like you could have a smoker and a furnace, like this. We want a brewing stand, item frame, cocoa beans in there, couple of flower pots to look like actual cups, and honestly there's not too much more to it. I think that that looks like a perfect little drink stand. Now last but not least, we are going to grab quartz stairs and scaffolding, and in front of these we're just going to leave, say, like a gap of 2, let's say a gap of 2, why not, in front of the stand, quartz stairs either side coinciding with where the front of the stand is, scaffolding in front of one of the chairs like this, and that will look absolutely perfect. And honestly, ladies and gentlemen, I don't think that we would possibly want to fit anything else in this mall. I think that it's actually 100% fully completed at this point. And that is that, ladies and gentlemen. I do hope that you have enjoyed this tutorial. If you have, please do remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Click the little bell next to the subscription button. That'll ensure that you get all my videos sent directly to your sub box. And if you do want to make part 3 of the mall, which is simply going to be a delivery truck, then you know what to do. The link for that will be down below in the description. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you in the next one. Goodbye.